Good morning. Welcome to the Parenting Versus
Podcast.
It is Sunday morning. Kids are occupied. They are...
For now.
Yeah, for now. But we're just hanging out, drinking coffee. Thought we'd record a real quick podcast.
Yeah, our house is cozy. We got our Christmas decorations up yesterday inside the house. So it looks nice and festive.
Yeah, I tweeted, Christmas has vomited all over our house, and my dad called me concerned. He thought we were all sick.
That sounds about right. Generational gap in understanding.
Yeah. But, it's been a good little Thanksgiving break. Tomorrow I go back to work. Next week is Lindsay's birthday.
On Tuesday.
She'll be 47.
Yep, I'll be 47. Just kidding, I'll be 34.
So it'll be a good week, and then we just have a few more weeks till winter break. So
yeah, it's weird. It's funny because we already celebrated my birthday, kind of. So it's sort of like anticlimactic at this point.
We'll probably do a birthday dinner for you.
Yeah, I mean it's not
and
really.
Then Tuesday, I want to do something with you.
Necessary.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Not too worried.
Yeah. So Lindsay splurged on something.
I did.
Yeah. Lindsay decided that she wanted a Pixel XL too.
Oh, I did splurge, yeah.
So I got one too. But I'm a little worried.
Why are you worried?
Well, we've been using our iPhone 6S, and it's been a success for 2 years.
Wait, our 6Ss have been successes?
Yes, I did that on purpose.
We've used them for about 2 years, and they're still going strong. I like my iPhone. I've had some hiccups with it lately, though, so I sort of feel like it may be on its way out anyway.
I could probably squeeze another year out of mine, but it's been a good device. We've had it for like 2 years. I think this is the longest time we've ever had a phone, both of us.
Might be.
Was that a duck? Almost looked like the duck.
Yeah, I think that might have been a duck.
Huh.
There was a duck that just flew over our car.
Yeah, lost.
Yeah, super lost. There's no water around here.
There's a river, but it's far.
Yeah. Poor
anyway, duck. So the Pixel XL should be cool. I have Apple stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part, and I have for 2 years. And before that, I was using a Motorola Moto. What was it? Droid Razor? No, Droid. I can't remember what it was called.
I don't.
It was a Motorola, and it was a.
It just shows how quickly technology changes, and we forget.
It was a good phone, and we've been for a long time before that we used Android devices. But anyway, not to spend too much time on phones. It'll be cool to have this new phone. It has a good camera. Has
we are not getting paid to say this, by the way.
No, it has all of the Google Assistant stuff built in, which that was my biggest complaint about iPhones and Apple. With Siri is all right, but it's like it's not the smartest. Google Assistant is crazy smart. You can ask it some super vague question, it'll come up with an answer, and it'll dictate it most of the time for you. Siri, if you ask it something that's even kind of challenging, will say, "Oh, let me search the web for you," and it'll bring up a Bing website. But anyway,
interesting. I went last night with a friend of mine to dinner, a girlfriend of mine, and that was awesome. Like, thank you for letting me go and have some girl time.
Are you thanking Jesus?
No,
now?
I'm thanking you.
Oh, okay. You looked up.
First, I looked up because my neck is sore. Thank you, Jesus. No, but I just want to say thanks for letting me do that because it was very necessary. So I feel a little more relaxed today than I have in a while. Still ended up in our kid's bed and woke up in my 2-year-old's bed this morning because at some point in the night, I guess I had to bring him back to bed, and I just fell back asleep in his room.
Did you have any crazy dreams?
I have been having crazy dreams.
Did you have a crazy dream last night?
I think I did, but right now I can't remember it. I'll probably start remembering it later in the morning after it marinates.
Do we talk like this, like we're talking now in real life?
I don't know, sometimes.
Like, do we?
I hope so.
Okay.
I think so. I think we do. Like, I feel like the tone of my voice changes on podcasts.
What about me?
The tone of your voice?
Does my tone change?
Not your tone, but the way you dictate things changes, I think, a little bit.
Am I more clear?
Yes.
Do I enunciate?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. I have been thinking about traveling a little bit. I've been thinking about trips. I've been thinking about... I have that itch I was telling you about to go do something, and I'm not sure what or where, but, like, I've really been thinking about it.
Yeah. So I heard France, speaking of traveling, they're going to make it illegal to say any gender-specific insults.
Huh.
Like, you can't call a lady a B word.
Interesting.
It'll be, I think, I mean, I kind of, like, glanced over a Twitter post, and the drummer for a band, I think is Between the Buried and Me. I think his name's Aaron Lunsford.
You think?
I think.
Like,
I might be wrong. He was a tooth and nail.
Be...
Yeah, I think he was a tooth and nail guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he quoted and tweeted some person with an article, and I don't know. It's hard to differentiate, like, what is truth and what is satire, what's sarcasm, what's a lie.
But
days.
You know what's interesting about France? Like, speaking of that, I actually read an article the other day regarding France, and when you have a baby in France, you have to name it a French name, and the name has to be approved by the courts, and they can reject the name that you pick
socialism
for your child. So, like, somebody wanted to name their baby Beyonce. I'm not kidding, and good choice on the rejection.
It's French, isn't it?
Beyonce.
And Beyonce, isn't that French?
Guess it could be. But they rejected it, and so, like, it's interesting because, yeah, like, you have to name your child something French. So you have people trying to sneak in these little names that sound French, or like...
to be Claude, or Marie, or Luc. Juliette.
I know, I feel like we'd be all right, except for Riley. We'd have to probably rename him.
Raleigh.
But, no, it's crazy.
Ralebou. I have to get coffee.
Okay. But, yeah, so I was reading, like, this, like, examples of names that have been rejected by, like, French officials, and some of them were really funny, and then some of them I was like, well... that's not a terrible name. Why would you reject that? And it's strictly because it wasn't a French name. So it's interesting, the rules and laws that they have, and I kind of wonder why. But, yeah, so some of the names were really terrible. I think somebody wanted to name their baby Brooklyn because it was like the parents had conceived the baby in Brooklyn or something, and they were French, and then they went home. And so they said it was part of the baby's heritage, and they were trying to pass it off that way, and the French officials were like, no. Name your baby something else. And then there was another one where it was a strictly made-up name, and they said it was part of the countryside where they were raised as children, and they wanted to pay homage to the French countryside, and then the officials were like, yeah, there's no such place. And so they didn't let them name their baby that either. But it's interesting. Like, can you imagine if, like, somebody was like, no, you can't name your kid Riley? Like, no. Or like, no. Juliet, nah, try again. And we're like, but we don't have any other choices.
Your relaxed game is on point right now, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you're like totally just like lounging.
Hell yeah. When I lounge, I lounge hard.
I'm trying to like bend over and
sorry.
lean over to get the mic to you, and you're just like, no, I'm relaxing.
Well, I'm kind of like a cat sometimes. I have this bruise, though, right here, and I have no idea where it came from.
She's pointing to her leg.
It's life with kids, I guess. They probably beat me.
Yep. We both kind of slept in today.
Thank God.
I woke up to Penny pawing me in the face. She wanted to go outside.
Oh.
And she didn't use in the bathroom, but I guess she had to use the bathroom on our floor in our living room as well. So I cleaned that up, but then I let her out, and she...
here comes the 1-year-old.
Yeah, here comes the jujube.
What's wrong, young lady?
She's doing something.
Really? What's wrong, young lady?
Yeah.
You look very concerned.
Maybe I should make her some eggs real quick.
Yeah, she's looking at you like...
We're gonna have a parenting pause.
Pause.
To
she just licked her hand and then wiped it on me. Thanks a lot.
Parenting pause to make some breakfast for the kiddos. Be right back. I like our pause music because it's kind of suspenseful. Like, what's happening?
What are they doing? It's a lifestyle montage.
Yeah. But
you can imagine us, like, frying eggs and, like, trying to hurry to get our kids fed.
Yeah. Isn't podcasting weird?
Yeah, it's super weird.
So, not everybody, but I've heard from a few different places that the Joe Rogan podcast is good. And I've listened to a couple of episodes. I pretty much skip the ones where he talks to the MMA fighters. Maybe I shouldn't, but he's an MMA dude. But he talks to some really interesting people, and they have great discussions. And his podcast episodes are like 3 hours long.
Dang.
And they just talk and talk and talk about stuff. And I'm like, it's just crazy to me that podcasts are just people mostly
Having conversations?
Yeah, it's like two people. Maybe it's, by the way, anybody who can do a podcast solo, kudos to you.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's
like some dead air for us. I'd be like, well.
Like to keep talking and talking and talking, whatever comes to your mind.
You're like, I'm going to read this novel to you.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
But podcasts are getting, I mean, they have been for a long time, been like a really big thing when people just talk, and it's interesting, and it's new, and I don't know.
You know, I think that part of podcast success comes from the fact that it's a safe space to talk.
Yeah, and it's not regulated.
It's not regulated. You don't have, like, when you go on a radio show, like, we used to have a radio show in Albuquerque. I'm not even going to tell you the name. It's kind of embarrassing. It's one of those moments in life.
We didn't really have a radio show. Your brother worked at a radio station.
Yeah, we did.
And he had some airtime.
And we had airtime.
I feel like it was mostly your brother's thing, though.
We were on it every week.
Maybe your brother and you were mostly involved.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Just showed up.
But anyway, so we had this radio show back in the day, and it was fun, but I felt like we couldn't dig super deep because there was regulations, there were things you couldn't say, you knew who your key audience was, and so you couldn't, quote unquote, offend certain people because of who was sponsoring your time and paying for your airtime.
Well, yeah, it was on the radio.
Yeah, so it's like, there's some limitations there, but with podcasting, you can be free. It's a safe space to express yourself. Mm-hmm. There's no limitations, and you can kind of take it any direction you want, which is great. Ooh.
Hi, guys.
Oh, our 5-year-old says hi, guys. So I think that's the beauty of podcasting is that it is like. Can you have a Pop-Tart? I don't know. Oh my goodness! Now we're on the Pop-Tart rampage. Like I said, we were doing okay for a minute, but now we have kids coming and asking us for Pop-Tarts. This is what child hell breaking loose sounds like. What? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pause. I'm sorry, you guys. Excuse me. What? Come here. I want you to tell these nice people on the podcast what the right way to ask is. What's the nice way to ask?
Please, can I have a Pop-Tart?
Wait, what?
Please, can I have a Pop-Tart?
Sure, thanks for asking the right way. All right, we'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Hold on just a second.
Okay, we're back. Another suspenseful Katy Perry, Jeff Midveron remix pause there. But
So it's funny because you were talking about MMA fighters for like briefly, or
the Joe Rogan podcast,
right? So the other night, Lorenzo and I watched a documentary on, was it Hulu? I think.
Yeah. We get to talk about this, but I want to keep talking about podcasts after that. Yeah, it was on Hulu. What was it called? American Jesus, right? And if you have Hulu, I would for sure recommend it. It's a really good movie, and it was in contrast to the movie we saw the night before, which I don't like criticizing people's work, but there was this movie we watched. I won't even tell you what it is, but
why don't you?
Well, I don't want to put down somebody's work, I guess. I don't know.
It's a podcast. You can speak freely.
I know, but I don't like saying mean things.
You don't have to be mean. You can be constructive criticism.
All right.
Constructive criticism.
All right. You might like it. It caught mine and Lindsay's attention because we love sci-fi, and we love apocalyptic, and like for example, Black Mirror was the show on Netflix was one of our favorites. This was also made by Netflix, and it was called What Happened to Monday, or Where's Monday Gone, or something about Monday.
What Happened to Monday?
What Happened to Monday?
Yeah.
And it's about the future, and people in the future, because of overcrowding, overpopulation, had to have a limit of one kid. But then William Dafoe, the villain from Spider-Man, was in the movie. He somehow had 7 identical septuplet girls. I don't know how that worked out.
Doesn't matter.
But anyway, he had to train each one of the girls to go out and live their life like
as a singular person.
Right. And he named them the day of the week, right? So Monday, the girl, she went out on Monday. Tuesday went out on Tuesday, and so on.
But they all took on an identity of one person,
yeah.
like while they were out, so that it wasn't suspicious.
So it was kind of interesting, I guess.
The premise was really good.
Yeah. And you kind of liked it. You didn't think it was bad. I think I disliked it more than you did.
Well, I think that for me, I just needed some closure on some things. So I would finish the movie because I just would want the closure on some things. But no, it started out really good. It was interesting. The premise was like, oh yeah, you could go a million directions with this. Good stuff. But then it just kind of tanked midway through.
Yeah.
But
it kind of got gory. The acting I thought wasn't believable.
Yeah.
So, and then it just got bloody and shooting, and it wasn't like Tarantino bloody and shooting. It was just kind of
pointless.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
But the documentary we watched the night after that, American Jesus, was actually made by a Spanish guy, and he basically just went around the U.S. and documented the different versions of American Christianity, and
it was really interesting.
Well, and I liked that he didn't take a stance on anything.
It was just reporting.
It was just reporting, right. He just showed us what people were doing and let them speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it was vastly different. And it was really interesting to kind of just get all these different perspectives on American Christianity.
Some of the people I had heard about before in the documentary, there's this guy, Shane Claiborne, which he's kind of a Jesus hippie. He's got his dreadlocks and his little bandana, right? But I follow him on Twitter, and he's all about just like loving people and peace, and I kind of agree with his stance on a lot of things. I guess you can call me, I'm kind of a hippie, I guess, but pacifist or whatever. Yeah, he's a pacifist for sure. But yeah, there's him, and then there's Craig Gross from the Triple X Church. I know about both these guys from, Craig Gross, Triple X Church, they were like one of the first sponsors of that podcast I like.
Yeah.
Bad Christian.
You know what I thought was interesting when he was talking on that documentary? He was talking about how, like they would put up signs at conventions like Jesus loves strippers, which I think is great.
I thought it was Jesus loves porn stars.
Or porn stars, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Jesus loves porn stars, right? And I'm like, that's great, because...
It was on the Bible.
Yeah.
On the copies of the Bible they would give out, because they go to like porn conventions.
Yeah.
And they would set up a booth at a porn convention. Because I guess there's porn conventions.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely porn conventions. I think they're mostly in Las Vegas.
There's conventions for everything, I guess.
There is. There really is.
Yeah, they would set up a booth and they would hand out Bibles that said Jesus loves porn stars. And he was saying that Christians would freak out about that.
Like they were getting super angry and offended.
Seriously?
And it's like, so, yeah, but it's just funny because it's like, so because we tell porn stars that Jesus loves them because he does, that's somehow offensive to the rest of Christianity. Like, it was just really thought-provoking and really interesting. And I really liked hearing what the different people had to say. There was obviously some stuff in there that people were saying that I didn't agree with.
Oh, yeah. He went all over the place. The Cowboy Church, I thought, was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, though.
They were in Texas. I mean, Texas, you got to expect Texas, right? So...
Well, the thing that he said, though, and it made a lot of sense to me after he said it, was...
Who? The Texas guy?
Yeah. He said, the reason we have a cowboy church is because a lot of cowboys don't go to church. And I thought, that's interesting, because I would have thought the opposite.
I kind of knew that. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. And he said, because they feel like they're closer to God when they're out in nature.
See, I do, too.
And I get that. I totally get it. That makes
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either.
Because I'm all about, to be honest, when I go to church... I say what's up to the people who are my community group. I see Tommy. I'm like, hey, what's up, Tommy? How you guys doing? Oh, the kids are doing good. Blah blah blah. I see Xander. I see Mike, I see Easton, and I say what's up to them. Everybody else at my church, I'm like, I'll give them a head nod. I'll say, how you guys doing? We have nothing to talk about because we're not part of that same community, right? But, I mean...
We should be, though, because if we're going to the same church,
I know, but it's easy. It's easier for me to really be familiar. I mean, I'm more familiar with the people I have that we see every Tuesday. But, anyway, if I'm out in nature, for sure, I mean...
There's a good balance.
Yeah. Church, I liked going to church because I like to learn from somebody who knows more about faith, who guides me, intellectually, and to kind of work through things in my head. You know what I mean? I like Sunday church because of that.
I think church gives you that starting point.
I also like the music too.
To work through things intellectually.
Yeah.
You know.
But where I experience God, I'm just gonna say I don't think I've ever had really, or if I have had minimal like spiritual experiences inside a church building.
That's fair.
There have been some, I guess, spiritual experiences inside a church building, but most of the time, like when I do feel closest to God is like when I'm in nature. Like if I go out into the woods, man, I feel like overwhelmed with just that's where I feel like
God's
it sounds
presence?
cheesy, but yeah, the presence of God.
It doesn't sound cheesy.
For sure. Like when I hiked Wheeler Peak with Dan, and I want to do that again. Mm-hmm. My friend Dan. That was amazing. Hiking to the top. There's a alpine lake up there. If you look across, this was in June, and there was still snow up there. And on Wheeler Peak, it's the tallest peak in New Mexico. And there were marmots. There were, you know what a marmot is?
Yeah.
It's like an alpine giant rat.
I'm sorry, I'm watching our daughter eat turkey, and she's enjoying the hell out of it.
I like how I'm like pouring out my soul.
No,
and
I'm listening. I'm smiling because she's savoring every little piece, and it's very sweet.
I feel God in nature, so I don't blame those cowboys for like, man, I pray out when I'm, wrangling the cows or whatever the cowboys do. And I don't think I need to go to church because I pray out there and yeah, I bring a flask of whiskey, but what else do you do out there? And you just take a sip of whiskey and look at cows.
Okay.
It sounds awesome to me. I want to be a cowboy.
Yeah. I don't know if I would be all right with that, but we probably wouldn't be married if you were a cowboy. It's not really my cup of tea or my flask of whiskey.
Anyways. But it was that was a good part of the documentary.
The ones I didn't really understand, I'll be honest with you, was like they had an MMA thing for Jesus, and I was like, okay.
He was the Green Ranger from Power Rangers.
Yeah. I forget his name.
And me and Lindsay, man, we are ruthless.
Yeah, well, he was talking about a clothing line that he was making specifically for MMA fighters for Jesus, and I was like, well, that's a very targeted audience.
He's like, I just came in one day and I thought about this slogan, and it was Jesus nailed it, and I put it on a shirt. I don't know what.
Yeah,
did he say
Jesus
like that.
Jesus. Oh, he made a rap song too.
What was the rap song?
Jesus didn't tap.
Jesus didn't tap, and it was like I don't know.
It was just interesting. We were like, well, alrighty then. That's straight like American.
Yeah.
Christianity at its finest, I guess.
It reminded me of that clothing line that has a bunch of tigers and like
Ed Hardy,
but without color.
Yeah, and then
give that to Juliet, please.
And he was just talking about it, and it was funny though because then they had those guys that like I forget, like they break things. They break things.
Oh, that was a different church.
I know, but I forget what it's called. But they like smash things, and they're like Jesus, and I'm like, I don't understand. Yeah, and they rip a phone book. The correlation.
And then they go out there. No, he's like, I don't want to say that we go out there and we just break things with our faces, but we do or something.
But we do it for Jesus, so it's different. And I'm like, I really sort of feel like maybe that's sort of not. I don't know. I mean, I guess to each their own, but like.
I remember those guys came to my school when I was in like a junior in high school. Here. I want to talk about my junior year in high school. I'm going to get these kids back.
You're going to talk about your junior. So while Lorenzo's getting the kids back engaged in kid stuff, and they're trying to take down the Christmas decorations and move them all over the house. It's just funny, yeah, because they were like smashing phone books, and like one guy lifted like a giant log, and he was like yelling Jesus at the top of his lungs, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. And he's like, well, we don't have a horse and pony show around here. And I'm thinking, you kind of do. Like, you're smashing things for Jesus. I don't know. I guess I just don't really understand that. And maybe it's just not for me to understand. And then one of the other churches they went to was one of the very, very charismatic snake handling churches, which, oh my goodness. And then it was sad because the guy was talking and he was handling a snake and it was kind of nuts and I was getting like uncomfortable just watching it. And then they had a little blurb right after that interview where it was like, this guy died of a snake bite like 6 months later. Yeah. And we were like, okay.
You know what that part of the movie reminded me of?
Growing up in Moriarty?
No, there were no snake handlers.
That you know of?
Although I think like 4 out of 5 of the churches in Moriarty were Pentecostal.
Probably.
Yeah, anyway.
Moriarty, New Mexico. Yep. Google it.
So
you probably won't find a lot.
That scene with the snake handlers reminded me of that movie with Will Ferrell.
Which one?
There's a Will Ferrell movie. I don't know what. I think it might be brother-in-laws, or what? Step Brothers. Where Will Ferrell was a snake. He went to a snake handling church, and his face was all like puffed up because that bit like a bunch of times.
Oh yeah, I don't remember which movie that was either, but it was.
That's what it reminded me of.
Well, they had like this grandma like playing the drums, and she was rocking out.
She was rocking out on the drums, dude.
Meg White style. Like,
yeah, it was kind of sad because in the beginning of that clip, like there was a bunch of people in the church that looked like, at least the angles.
Yeah.
And then after, like they were showing video clips of after the guy died, and it was like her and like another guy, and like the church was empty. And I'm guessing probably because they all died from drinking poison or...
They did drink poison too.
Yeah.
And they were saying, the weird thing was, do you remember when he was saying like, well, when someone gets bit, we either take them to someone's house.
Yeah, they don't go to the hospital.
Like,
they pray. They take them to the house to a comfortable place so they could basically die in peace, I guess.
That's so jacked up.
I feel like those guys should get in trouble, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Anyway, yeah, scary stuff. But, yeah, about the guys breaking ice blocks with their heads and stuff.
Yeah.
In the snake handling church, too, there was a lady with a flame she was holding to her arm.
She was like, yeah.
And I was like, your skin is burning. I'm watching it on the screen right now.
Like, have you ever heard that expression? Like, if you play with fire, you're going to get burned? Because that's what you're doing literally right now. It was
terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys that break things. Oh, good lord. What's up, dude?
It's Dashy Poo Poo with the caca.
Okay, go.
Yeah,
It's Dashy
Hey.
Go with the poo poo.
Oh my goodness. 5-year-olds, all they want to do is talk about poop.
That's true.
It's like potty talk city over here.
Uh-huh. And then Riley's going to come here and he's going to copy him, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So those guys came to my school during a assembly.
They were allowed to come to your school?
So I don't know if they were dishonest and they said they just wanted to do an inspirational thing. They were touring.
Some people do it for inspiration.
But at the end of that, they had an altar call during like school hours,
Ooh.
Which is a huge
no.
So they broke stuff. They tore phone books. They got the crowd involved, and it was entertaining. But at the end, okay, I need everybody needs to bow their heads and close their eyes, and no peeking, and we come here because of Jesus, and the whole thing, the whole spiel that everybody's used to. It's so cheesy. And I need you to raise your hand if you want to accept the Lord for your personal Savior. And like it was really awkward because I'm like, oh, this happens at church, and I feel weird when it happens at church.
Like at school.
This is happening at school.
And they just smashed a giant like 2x4 with their face.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, there's that. Awkward. But it was really interesting. A lot of I like those documentaries that just kind of go around and experience like what's happening across the country.
Yeah, they had a punk rock church too in New York, which was kind of cool. It's kind of neat to see.
Yeah,
that.
I didn't remember that one.
That guy, remember he said something about someone he knew died, and he was really tore up, and he's like, he became an atheist. He's like, the last thing I want to do.
Oh, that was Texas.
Was it Texas?
That was Texas.
Oh, Dallas.
It was Dallas.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I said New York. And that seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah. And there was that crazy looking dude that has church underneath the bridge in Nashville.
Yeah. That guy definitely, like,
He's
if
legit,
I saw him
right?
under a bridge, I would be terrified.
Yeah, but that little church was legit, I think.
Oh, yeah. No, they just went, they had church underneath a bridge in Nashville, Tennessee, and they just, like, brought food, and they brought chairs, and they just kind of, like, showed up, and that's what they did.
And then they had a little clip of Crespo Dollar.
Oh, my gosh.
He has a mega church. Mega churches are crazy, but he has a mega church in Atlanta. And he's like, what does he say?
Mind you, his last name is Dollar. Like, dollar bills, y'all.
He's like, I feel the money coming upon me. 100,000, 200,000.
I was like, is he for real? Like, people are legitimately buying this? Like,
But then they showed
oh my gosh.
they showed a shot of the church. It's huge. Mm-hmm. It was a huge church.
It's the prosperity gospel thing that people are all
Yeah.
into. It's the same thing as Joel Osteen. It's just
Yeah.
a different audience.
And then they talked about the support of Israel. And then they had a clip of John Hagee, which you never heard of him, right?
Oh, I've heard of him.
My mom used to watch John Hagee all the time on TBN. So,
Woo.
anyway, recommend that film.
American Jesus on Hulu.
American Jesus, check it out.
Worth watching.
And then while you're there, watch the Sarah Silverman thing.
And then you'll get a real good
And
taste of America.
if you haven't, Drunk History.
Yeah, I know. That's like American history from all angles, really. Yeah. Oh man.
So, it was good stuff.
Oh, drunk history. That's
Yeah.
wow.
So this is podcast. It's just talking and talking and talking.
Hey, guess what?
What?
It's Sarah Sunday. Happy Sarah Sunday.
I don't get Sarah Sunday. What is that?
Michael Sarah Sunday.
Oh, I thought you said Sarah, like
Sarah Silverman.
like
No.
Sarah Silverman. I was like,
No, it's Sarah, like Sarah Sunday, like Happy Sarah Sunday.
okay,
I'm gonna have to post a picture later, probably.
happy Sarah Sunday.
I just love Michael Sarah.
Do you?
I do.
He is a good guy.
Yeah,
So
I love his goofy ass. He's just awkward. He embodies all the things that are awkward about humanity and makes it super neat.
yeah,
So
he's had some good movies too.
yeah, shout out Michael Sarah.
Yeah, shout out Michael Sarah. He listens.
I know. I know.
I'm positive he does.
I'm confident this is his favorite podcast.
So I wish I was a little bit smarter.
Don't we all?
Because I was listening to that podcast yesterday, Joe Rogan, and they're just good at just talking about these really cool stuff, really cool topics. They were talking about. Did you kind of catch a little bit when we were in bed?
Remind me. Hey,
You need to get.
if
You
you,
need to go,
if you
dude.
come out here and say that again, guess what?
Hey,
I have idle threat. I have like empty threats at this point.
yeah.
I'm like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna. And then I'm like, what am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do. I'm gonna keep taking it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we can have breakfast and make this a short one, I guess.
No. I mean, this is parenting versus podcast. We say that all the
Yeah.
time, but our kids are just nuts lately. I feel like they're on overload. Mm-hmm. Overload crazy.
Yeah.
Is
Maybe.
it wrong to want like a date night tonight, even though I just had a night with my friend last night?
Yes.
I'm like, I just need a break every night.
Well, let's have a quick,
All right, we're gonna
quick
have
pause.
a Parenting versus podcast parent pause. Sorry, you guys, it's full of parent pauses today.
That's okay. They love them.
You expect it.
Okay. And we're back. Parenting pause number 3. So
Once, twice, 3 times a lady.
I don't mind though. I don't mind the parenting pauses.
No, I feel like they're
we have to?
necessary. We don't have
And
a
they
choice.
come before podcasting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that it is what it is. And this podcast, we've told you guys before, like we are pretty unstructured.
What
in that-
guys?
All the guys out there.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
We have kids. This is our life.
Are you talking to me?
Handle it or don't.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to people that are listening.
No, talk to me.
I
like it when you talk to me.
I'm trying to talk to you, but it's really difficult sometimes. Can I just say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I would like to say something. I don't know, like if you're married or you're dating or whatever, it would be very interesting to analyze like your birth order. Like, are you an older child, a middle child, a younger child? And then what is your partner? Because Lorenzo and I are both oldest children. And we butt heads a lot.
Yeah. So yesterday, not
Hard
yesterday,
on our marriage.
2 days ago, Lindsay told me I looked like I was
Say it.
caveman or homeless or something.
Caveman
Because I had a lot of hair on my head and on my face.
It was getting to the point where if I ran into you downtown, I would give you $1. Like,
That is mean.
I'm being honest.
That is being mean.
I get that it's cold outside, but you need to clean it up.
I did
sometimes.
actually. My mom gave me a haircut on my
He still
head.
gets haircuts from his mom. I've been trying to get him to go to an actual barber for a long time.
Yeah. Well, here's
He
the cool thing
refuses.
about the haircuts I get from my mom.
There's nothing cool about that.
There's a lot of things cool about it.
No.
They are free.
Just because something's free doesn't mean it's good for you.
It's most of the time it does actually.
No.
So, yeah, I got a haircut, and yeah, there's tension sometimes between married people,
Well,
and
I think
I have no problems talking about it. By the way, I don't.
fine.
People hide stuff a lot.
Well, I think that there's this unspoken need to present things as better or perfect.
Yeah.
And then with Facebook and things, it doesn't help because you have, like, just the best on there.
Well, okay, so I think there are forums, there are mediums where these things can happen, right? Facebook, I'm not sure if that's the best place, right? To
Compare your...
to type on Facebook and to vent on Facebook about
No, I'm not talking
really.
about...
No, I'm just saying. That's what I'm talking about really personal stuff.
See what I'm talking about, guys?
But on our podcast, we've set the kind of
We set the bar really low.
no, we have. That's okay. But
We're
I
honest.
feel like the couple of people that do listen to us, all like 2 or 3 of you guys, I'm serious.
No, I know, it's just...
It's like Ryan and like maybe 2 or 3 other people.
No, but I think that that's it. Like, we're honest about it, and
Yeah.
it's not always pretty. Honesty is not always, like, this
Well, I think more people should be honest.
beautiful painted
and
picture of life.
and
It's
people
just
have come
life.
to expect like we're going to talk about maybe some personal stuff here, and our kids who listen in the future, they're going to, I want to be honest with them that, man, marriage is not easy.
No.
Marriage is hard. Parenting is not easy. Parenting is hard.
Parenting is the
And-
hardest thing you will ever do.
And one of the things I hate about our culture is everybody wants to set this like picture of yourself about how together you have it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a lot of people do have it together, but you don't see like the behind the scenes where, instead of mom doing projects with their kids, she'll take pictures of that, but she won't take the picture of her screaming at her kids in the back seat because they're making a lot of noise and she's driving and she's trying to
Or
concentrate.
pulled over on the side of the road crying because your kid won't stop crying and you don't know what to do.
Right.
That when we first had Luke, our first, as a woman and as a mom.
Well, he did not like the car.
No, but I had nothing to compare it to. So I had this in the culture of Pinterest and Facebook and all of these mom blogs and all this extra crap that honestly, if you're a new mom or you don't have kids yet, or you're a new dad and you don't have kids yet, or you're thinking about having kids, the worst thing you can do, I promise you, is go on the internet and look at other people's parenting, because it makes you feel like there's this unreachable standard, and then when you fail, you feel like you're doing it wrong. With Luke, our first, he's 5 now, I felt like that for a long time. I mean, I've dealt with postpartum depression with all 3 of my kids, but with Luke, it was especially hard because he was my first kid. And I remember one time I had my friend Julie in the car. She was pregnant with her first, and I had Luke. He was in the back seat, and we were driving, I think, to like Target or something, because I just needed to get out of the house. He was real little, and he was crying, and it wasn't even bad. Thinking back on it, it wasn't bad, but the fact that he was crying and everything I tried did not work put me into this like it was like basically anxiety. It's called postpartum anxiety and depression, and it can happen. I had to pull the car over, and I just like lost it. I started bawling because I felt like this shouldn't be happening. I'm his mom. I should know how to fix it when he's crying. Like, why isn't he stopping crying? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible parent. And then your mind just goes like, and then you see on Pinterest, there's these moms that are like, I did this project with my newborn. I took all these amazing, beautiful pictures, and I did this, and oh, parenting is so beautiful and fun. And And you're like, why isn't it like that for me? You know, but you forget that, like, that is one tiny snippet of somebody's life. That is not the whole picture.
Yeah.
I remember...
And they might dedicate their whole lives to putting on this picture of themselves, and maybe they're even neglecting, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're neglecting their kids to do it, but yeah, it's all about, I think people are really obsessed about what other people think about them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know what's funny is, like, Lorenzo and I have never, with any of our kids, have ever had a professional family portrait done. And I'm okay with that. I used to feel really guilty about that. Like, for some reason, like, oh man,
I don't like those professional pictures.
I don't either. And I'm like, well, if we both don't like them, why would we get them? But there's this thing of, like, you know, you have the nice family picture hanging in your house because you're such a beautiful family and everybody needs that. Not true. Lorenzo and I both actually like to take pictures of our kids in their own element, like doing things that they normally do, being themselves. And that's something I really like. But it was funny because we had somebody in our old small group at church who, when I was pregnant, was like, hey, when the baby's born, I'll take some really nice pictures if you want. And I thought, okay, I guess I should do that, right? So we went over to their house so that they could take pictures after Luke was like 3 days old. And they didn't have kids at the time.
He peed on their carpet.
He peed on their carpet.
Because she wanted to take a picture of him naked.
Like, naked with, like, the fuzzy stuff around him, you know, angelic and soft and cute. And it was, you know, okay. And he was really jaundiced, too. Like, it was not a great picture.
He was orange. He was a little orange, little naked baby.
Yeah, it was not a good picture. But he peed right on their carpet. And I remember her just looking at me like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe he did that. Now she has kids, and I'm sure she understands. But at the time, I don't think that she was real happy with that. And it was like, this is real life.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she didn't care. Maybe it was just her. Maybe since you didn't really know her, like, you couldn't read her body language. Because sometimes you have to know people to read their body language.
I don't know. But it's just funny because, you know, you see all these perfectly, like, sleeping angelic babies in these pictures. And you're like, that baby probably peed on that carpet right before that picture was taken.
Parenting is hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Worth it, but it's not easy. Marriage, not easy. We've had a lot of time together, me and Lindsay, from, you know, Wednesday to today. Tomorrow I go back to work. But, man, we've had to really, I think we've made up like 3 or 4 times this whole break.
We really butt heads a lot.
You know, there's conflict about a lot of stuff. Where are you going? Oh, fridge was open. There's conflict about a lot of stuff. Most recently was the in-laws and my mom especially. And I won't talk too much about that, but basically, man, when there's disagreement, there's disagreement. And it's really hard a lot of times to think about what your spouse is going through and kind of, what's that word? Empathize with them. Because you're thinking about like, oh, this is how I feel, and I feel it this way, and I'm so mad right now. And we get so mad at each other. And the bottom line is like we don't want ill for each other. Like, we don't want each other to feel harm. But at the same time, like, we're thinking so much about how we feel at that given moment. And it's just hard, you know, a lot of times. Like, we're getting along now. And Lindsay gave me some time to run on the treadmill. My mom gave me a treadmill we put in our workshop, which I think it's awesome. We have a workshop, by the way. You know, I got to exercise a little bit last night, which I love to do. And if you saw me, you're like, what? You love to exercise? You're like... Never mind. So she gave me some.
You're over exaggerating.
You gave me some time to exercise, and that was great because I listened to some music and
It's good for mental clarity.
Yeah, it's good. And I did some air drumming on the treadmill.
I'm probably gonna go to the gym later today.
Yeah.
I need to badly.
Yeah, do it.
I told myself I was gonna start on Friday, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. And then you went out with your friend, had some pizza and drinks, and that was good. And you know, we're getting along now, but I think even this morning we fought, didn't we?
A little, yeah. I think for me, like, I have a hard time at the beginning of the day jumping into the day that feels chaotic already. Like, there's no warming up at our house. It's like, I wake up, there's dog piss on the ground, there's, my kids have taken all the toys out of the toy box in their room and dumped them on the floor, even though I just cleaned their room before bed last night. You know what I mean? Like, I go into the playroom and there's like popcorn kernels everywhere, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, it's been less than 24 hours and this house is destroyed, and you guys were sleeping, so what happened? And so it's really hard for me to relax in the mornings because it's just a chaos-filled experience most of the time. And then you have kids clinging to you, you know, wanting bottles, and I want this get me this now, I want this, wah, 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 and you're just like, okay, I just need a minute to, like, drink a cup of coffee, to, like, have my senses come to me and just, like, mentally get in it for the day. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. And so that starts the day off on the wrong foot. And then Lorenzo and I are at each other because, you know, I'm already stressed out and it's been 5 minutes since I've been awake.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm learning to cope with a lot of things. Like, I think it's a little easier for me in a lot of cases because I let details go. You hang on to details. Like, for example, if the kids are crying, I don't let it bother me. I know that they need something, so I'm going to give each kid whatever they need. Juliet, most of the time it's a diaper change or a bottle. Riley, it's something, and Luke, it's something. But I don't know. It's just hard. But I hope that we are getting better at it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing biggest advice I would give to anybody who is asking, not that anybody's asking, but
well, do we have the right to give advice?
Not unless somebody asks.
No, but I mean, are we in a place where we think we're succeeding enough to give advice?
No,
Let's give advice to each other.
That could get ugly, but sure. I think that you and I both need to learn and work on supporting each other and remembering that we're on the same team, and that means that we stand up for each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about specifically with our moms, because there's a lot of pull from my mom and there's a lot of pull from your mom. And most of the time that pull doesn't affect them, but it affects us both in our marriage, and it causes stress and tension and things in our marriage. And neither one of us will stand up to our moms and say, hey, enough, or
well,
hey,
we decided to have
okay.
Christmas at our house this year.
Yeah, we did. And
I have no idea how that's going to turn out.
I don't either, but that's okay. We don't have to know. You know, I mean, usually, like we were talking about on the Thanksgiving podcast, usually we're running from, like, brunch at my parents' to, like, Lorenzo's parents to wherever. And this year we just, you know, I told my mom, this year we're going to do Christmas at our house. Mm-hmm. I like going to brunch at my parents' house a lot, but I also understand that Lorenzo feels a need to want to have our own traditions, which I think is good for our family. So
I also don't like dividing my time between everybody, right?
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
And, you know, it's always coordinating, like we're in the middle, like, oh, what time is your mom and dad going to have Christmas? And you know, we'll do it this time, and then they can do it this time, and then it turns out like we're just dividing our time between everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
it's the joy of what it should be turns into the stress of, like, us running around. So,
right.
But yeah, so I just told my mom, hey, Mom, you know, I love you, but I don't think we're going to be able to do Christmas morning at your house. We're going to do something here, and you guys are welcome to come.
So I think we can develop new traditions too.
Yeah, and we should.
The art is open as of Friday.
Explain what the art is.
Okay, art is Albuquerque Rapid Transit. And it got the gold standard for a green rapid transit line. It's completely electric.
Cool.
And people in Albuquerque hated it.
People
and
in Albuquerque
I have no idea why. They hated it.
They're very
badly.
resistant to change, and they don't... Anything that makes them uncomfortable for a moment,
they had to go through traffic.
Okay. Yeah.
But man, I was looking at the comments on KRQE Channel 13. It's the CBS affiliate here in town. Mm-hmm. I was looking at the comments for the story that they posted that it was opened. Dude, these people are just bitter. And I'm like... It's
already happening, guys. Get
it's
over
happened.
it.
It's open. And they're like, oh, it's such a waste of money. It was federally funded by an Obama thing to increase rapid transit growth. And it was federally funded. Like, not your tax dollars, like, very minimal, are going to this. So, anyway.
Well, and the thing is, like... How did we get on this topic?
So,
I'm sorry.
so we could talk more about art, but
I mean,
so
I have some thoughts
was
about art,
open.
but like,
We
how
could
did
talk
get
about
here?
art.
How did we get here? I don't.
Uncle Art.
So
So
confused.
the
Your Uncle Art's in jail.
What is it called? The River of Lights, which is our botanical gardens here in town, are amazing. I
Yeah.
love them.
We actually have a very great botanical garden
They're fantastic.
for being in the middle of the
Yeah,
desert.
I love it. Well, it's right on the river,
Yeah.
so it's really cool.
Maybe
And
we should take the kids to do that tonight.
yeah, the botanical gardens.
Whoa.
You can go there. What?
You just got really
I'm excited about the
Yeah.
botanical
Let's
gardens.
do it. Yeah.
I teach biology. I'm excited about that stuff.
I
Oh,
know.
here come the kids.
No, it's just funny because I've never seen so much like enthusiasm in your
Yeah.
face before.
Well, I'm excited about the botanical gardens.
So does Art go that way?
Yes, it does. It's going to be
Sweet.
servicing, and there's a stop right there.
Cool.
So you don't have to deal with the traffic, and that was one of our main things. But
Yeah.
maybe we can start developing these traditions, like maybe do something with my family, do something with your family, like we can do
really
these
like
traditions. I would love to go to Santa Fe for the Posadas.
I love posadas.
It's
Yeah.
really cool. Santa Fe during Christmas is the best.
It's
I
magical.
love it.
It's like Christmas Disneyland
yeah.
almost.
It is. And then maybe do like River of Lights with with your parents or something. Like have them meet here.
Connor and- yeah.
And we can go to we can do like the art stop, right here by Highland or something. And then just take Art down all the way down to Botanical
I
Gardens.
think the kids would really get a kick
they
out
would
of going
love
on
that.
the bus.
I want
too.
to take the bus. We need to do that.
I also want to take the rail runner and drink hot chocolate.
Yeah.
You do too?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we should do that. We
But
should.
it's all about
do
creating
that.
our own traditions and like respecting our families,
Mm-hmm.
but not letting our parents pressure us because that gets into our marriage.
It's over.
Oh, is it over?
Okay. Well, do you want to have breakfast then?
Let's do it.
So, why don't you talk about art for like a few minutes while I cue up music?
No, I'm
Okay.
I think it's breakfast time. You guys hungry? You ready? You want some bacon and eggs?
Yeah.
Yeah?
How about... Wait, no. How about juju eggs?
How about green eggs and ham?
No.
Do you not like them, Sam? I am.
No, I think... Cat in the hat.
You think Cat in the Hat?
Cat in the Hat for breakfast?
Well,
Eight monkeys.
our family right now is being crazy like always, but you guys have a great week. We probably won't post another episode for a while because we're going into a work week. So you guys enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you on the next one.